The Dallas Cowboys just changed everything, so we're going to be going through that and 3 other stories in today's video. So make sure to like this video, and if you want more Dallas Cowboys news content like this, make sure to subscribe to the channel by hitting that red button down below. The first story is the big takeaways from the Dallas Cowboys' 49-17 win over the Giants that just changes everything. It was a thrashing at espn Stadium Sunday afternoon, and the Dallas Cowboys offense did whatever it wanted to against the New York Giants defense. The Cowboys went to 6-3, the Giants 2-8. The Cowboys quarterback is on fire right now. He had 404 yards, 5 total touchdowns, and an interception in 3 quarters against the Giants. It's his 3rd game with more than 300-plus yards, and Dallas is 3-1 over its last 4 games. He made it look easy Sunday and looks like a quarterback who can take his team deep into the postseason, which has long been a question for Prescott. His odds to win Most Valuable Player were 4,000 entering Sunday. That number will change after Sunday's performance. Cowboys coach Mike McCarthy said the offense took a step up since a few weeks ago, and Prescott is at the forefront of that. Dallas has Carolina and Washington up next, before a tougher stretch to end the season against Seattle, Philadelphia, Buffalo, Miami, Detroit, and Washington. If Prescott keeps up his current play and the Cowboys win more of those games than not, he'll be on a very short list of MVP candidates. It makes sense that Lamb does well when Prescott improves, but this is something else. Lamb finished Sunday's game with 11 catches, 151 yards, and a rushing and receiving touchdown. He's now the first player in NFL history to have 3 straight games with 10-plus catches and 150-plus yards receiving. Over the past 3 games, he has 34 catches for 500 yards and 4 total touchdowns. Lamb has 975 yards through 9 games and is currently on pace for 1,141 yards. He had 1,359 last season, which is the best of his career. Lamb mentioned he and Prescott worked more this offseason than any of their previous offseasons together. If they both continue any amount of this production for the rest of the season, both will be regarded as top 5 players position. The Panthers have the worst record in the NFL, but they allow the 5th fewest passing yards per game, 176.4. Lamb is averaging 166.6 yards over his last 3, so something has to budge. Unless no other Cowboys wide receiver does anything. But if Week 11 goes anything like it did Sunday afternoon for the Cowboys offense, that certainly won't be the case. The 10-year veteran had his best game in a Dallas Cowboys uniform. He finished with 9 catches, 173 yards, and a touchdown. The last and only time Cooks had more than 173 receiving yards was December 18, 2016, when he had 186. Cooks is 30. He embraces that Lamb is the main target and his role within the team won't always be catching passes. But it certainly was Sunday. Prescott looked his way 10 times, and Cooks delivered. The timing of his season-best performance is maybe the most interesting aspect. Less than a week after Dallas signed free agent wide receiver Martavis Bryant to the practice squad, Cooks more than triples his previous season high in receiving yards. The first quarterback in Dallas Cowboys history to have 10 games of 400-plus passing yards in a career is none other than Dak Prescott. Dak continued his month-long hot hand on Sunday in a 49-17 dismantling of the New York Giants at espn Stadium in Arlington on Sunday, putting up 404 passing yards and 4 scores paired with 1 interception. He also added a rushing score to his tally, pushing his touchdown total to 5 on the day. To end the season series against the G-Men, Dallas outscored New York by a combined 89-17 across the 2 games played. To put it in layman's terms, that'll play. And a large amount of that credit goes to Prescott. Even in last week's loss to Philadelphia, Prescott has had strong performances dating back to his nightmare game in San Francisco a month ago. Over the last 4 games, Prescott has now accounted for 12 passing touchdowns and just 2 interceptions. Much of Dak's production through the air on Sunday came with wideout CeeDee Lamb, who set records in his own right in the win. The chemistry between these two is undeniable, and they heaped praise on one another after the game. "He's always in the zone," Lamb said on the Fox post-game broadcast. "It's just a matter of time before it comes into fruition. I'm happy for him, and we're going to continue to do this for as long as we can." "It feels great," Prescott said. "Obviously, to put up the points we did, and defense had a good game. The last month, everything we've been trending towards going back to the offseason, it's really coming together. It's really, really fun. Dak catches a lot of heat in the media, as any quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys is prone to receive. But stretches like the last 4 weeks show that maybe Jerry Jones is right. Maybe his quarterback can actually compete for Super Bowls. Maybe even this season, if things go well. The second story is CeeDee Lamb has a message to the rest of the NFL. Another game, another huge performance for Cowboys wide receiver CeeDee Lamb, who hauled in 11 receptions for 151 yards and 1 touchdown in a 49-17 rout of the New York Giants in front of the home crowd at AT&T Stadium. Lamb's big day moves his historic streak of consecutive 150-plus yard, 10 reception games to 3, setting an NFL record in the Super Bowl era. His performance has his confidence high going into the back half of the regular season schedule as he sees his streak as his way of putting the league on notice. "I'm the top receiver in this game," Lamb said confidently post-game. "There's no question about it. If there is, I'll see you again next week." While he was riding high after the game, he was also quick to delve out credit to Dak Prescott, the offensive line, and his fellow receivers, who he says has allowed him to play as free as he has been in the last month. "It's amazing, especially when you come out with a dub," he said about his performance. "Shout out to the guys, O-line holding up, Dak feeding me, all of the receivers opening it up for me. It's a collective group. We're staying blessed, staying humble about it." Despite continuous strategizing by opposing defenses to control him in the receiving game, either by doubling or bracketing, Lamb gives credit to offensive play caller Mike McCarthy for keeping him on the move and disrupting opposing game plans. "They're definitely trying to double me, but McCarthy is doing a great job of moving me around and putting me in motion, lining me up on the outside," Lamb said. "I guess you can't get a beat. It's Mike versus the DC at this point." The high offensive production didn't stop with Lamb on Sunday, as the offense's collective 640 total yards were the second most in a game in franchise history and the 10th most in a game in NFL history. "We're hitting our stride," he said. "I'm happy with it this past month. We've been on a roll. We just got to stay consistent and stay true to us." It's easy for everyone on the outside to feel confident in Dallas's offense after the run it has been on lately, but can the same be said for everyone on the inside? "Absolutely, and it's not stopping," Lamb said. Dak Prescott said the connection with coaches and teammates is the best he's ever had. It's a surprising comment from the Cowboys quarterback, considering head coach Mike McCarthy took over as play caller this season. The offense changed to the West Coast scheme. The team acquired a new number 2 receiver in Brandon Cooks. Young tight end Jake Ferguson moved to the first team on the depth chart. And, of course, one of his best friends, running back Ezekiel Elliott, was released. With the changes Prescott dealt with this offseason, there was a belief there would be some struggles. And yet, here he sits with his team at 6-3 after a 49-17 trashing of the Giants on Sunday afternoon. Prescott provided the Cowboys with another dominant performance. He completed 26 of 35 passes for 404 yards with 4 passing touchdowns and a rushing score. It's the 10th time in his career Prescott has thrown for over 400 yards. Prescott threw 1 interception and almost threw another, thank Cooks for the pass breakup, and had receiver CeeDee Lamb make a nice sideline catch on a pass he was throwing away while under pressure. When everything goes your way, just ask Lamb. Everything really goes your way. "I've never been a statistics guy, honestly," Prescott said. "In that sense, it doesn't matter. But I can tell you I've never been as confident, as free, as connected with other guys. On the offense, play calling, and just this whole system of what we're trying to get after, as I am now." Prescott played miserably in a loss to the 49ers on Oct. The third story is 2 Cowboys players who have been disappointing for the Dallas Cowboys. This might be another failed trade for Jerry Jones's shelf of bad deals. The Cowboys traded a 5th-round pick for this year and a 6th for next year in exchange for him. Cooks was the best weapon on a Texans team that simply was in rebuilding mode last offseason. It was no surprise they were looking to move on. So far, Cooks has not become the third weapon of a 3-headed monster in the receiving corps. Cooks only has 17 catches for 165 yards and 2 touchdowns so far this year. For a player Dallas gave up draft picks for, more was expected by now. Cooks barely made noise the first few games of the season before he hauled in his first touchdown against the Chargers. His best game statistically was the following week against the Rams, where he had 3 catches for 49 yards with a 25-yard touchdown, his longest play of the season. After a performance where the Dallas offense looked the best it had all season and Cooks had his best game, it looked like he was primed for a breakout performance. That did not happen in Philadelphia. Cooks was only targeted twice and had 1 catch for 7 yards. Dallas struggled with just having CeeDee Lamb as their primary receiver last year, and Cooks was supposed to take pressure off him as an established player. Right now it looks like they are back to square one. Some have been asking why Cooks is getting far less targets than Michael Gallup, but Mike McCarthy refused to give the media much of an idea why during his most recent press conference. Cooks is a guy who can take the top off a defense if you send him deep, and that is what the expectations were for him when he came to Dallas.